Hi, my name's Lisa Blair, and I guess you could describe me as an adventurer, ocean sailor. And I am getting prepared. It's my final week on dry land before I set off to sail solo, non-stop and unassisted around Antarctica for 3 months. The voyage should take.
That's an amazing challenge. And you tried this before and you almost succeeded non-stop, but you still succeeded with that unexpected stop. So tell me how much of a challenge this is for you. They say, that the fact that you've already done this once, forewarned is forearmed. So is that a good thing or a bad thing that you know what's in store for you?
It's a little mixture, I think, because I know exactly how brutal a challenge this is and how many times it nearly broke me last time. And I'm definitely expecting that it's probably going to be harder than I envisioned second time around, purely because you have that kind of attitude of like, oh, I've done it once, I could do it again. So I think that that's going to be a big part of the project. I also think that while the dismasking and everything has, I guess, in some ways improved my sort of, improved my confidence in my own sailing and my ability to problem solve and get through survival situations like that. There's also this kind of mental challenge that goes with it, because I very nearly died while I was in the Southern Ocean last time. And I nearly died a couple of times. So, to then voluntarily put myself back in that position where I'm struggling and I'm surviving day by day and going through storms, the size of large hurricanes, it's a challenge that I think a lot of people underestimate, but it's definitely something that's coming up.
After hearing that, people may ask, why are you going back into this treacherous ocean to try and conquer it?
Yeah, I think the Southern Ocean is just such a remarkable place. Like it's always captured my heart. When I sailed in the Clipper Around the World Yacht Race 10 years ago, the Southern Ocean was always my favorite destination. It's treacherous, but it's so majestically beautiful in the violence of those storms. There's just this real, I guess, bond that you create with that ocean while you're sailing in it. And for me, I wasn't done with it because my trip was cut short. And while I set the world record and I did it with one stop and all of those things, it wasn't the trip that I planned initially. So before I even finished the last record and arrived back into Australia, I had made the mental note that in a few years, when I've had time to kind of process the trauma associated with it and rebuild my trust back into my boat and everything, that I would go back again and challenge that record again. And so here we are 5 years later.
Wish you, Godspeed and fair winds and all those things. But I guess there's another purpose for you going, and the name of your boat sort of gives a tip to that. Tell me about the name and your mission, so to speak.
Climate Action Now. So the name of the boat is Climate Action Now. And all the way back from my early days of sailing, I've always been quite conscious of the fact that in a world-class sailing challenge like what I'm doing, you get that international attention and you can have this incredible platform to do good with it rather than it just being a personal endeavor. And so I sort of have always had this commitment to utilize the media attention and to create awareness and education around the message of Climate Action Now. And I've been collecting post-it notes from people in the public for a couple of years now, and I've got several thousand post-it notes, and each post-it note is an environmental action on something that they're already doing towards a better future. And then we combined all of those messages. And if any of your listeners actually Google the boat and have a look at the boat, you'll see the hull of the boat is wrapped in thousands and thousands of the community's messages. And it's their environmental actions. And the goal of the campaign is to show people that as an individual, we all have the power to create change. It just starts with one action. So that's been the basis of the campaign for the last 5 years, 6 years. But this project, I really wanted to step it up another notch. I didn't feel like the awareness was enough. And so I've partnered with several scientific groups across the world. And we've got weather buoys getting deployed. We've got Argo research floats getting deployed. I'm taking a flow-through water sampler that measures the ocean health data and takes readings for like chlorophyll, acidity levels, salinity levels, carbon trapped in the ocean. And then that information is relevant to climate scientists and researchers in the Southern Ocean. And I'm also taking microplastic samples while I'm sailing as well. So I'm very conscious that the Southern Ocean is a really data scarce area of our planet, because there is no one that goes down there, and to send a research vessel filled with crew and scientists is just so expensive for the gain of knowledge. So by being a volunteer vessel and being able to be a citizen scientist on board the boat, I'm able to generate data that just doesn't exist yet. And I'm sort of laying the groundwork out, and then we can find out where the trouble areas are and where we might need to do more focused research, or it can be a comparison point to another set of data coming back at a later date. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting.
Because the Southern Ocean is this amazing, constant flowing ocean around Antarctica, and Antarctica itself, and the sort of, you know, the biodiversity around it are really, you know, threatened and a focus for climate scientists at the moment, aren't they? It's a very special part of the planet.
Yeah, and it's also one of the areas of our ocean that traps the most carbon because of the colder temperatures and the krill and the crustaceans that are there. So it's actually one of the key resources associated with the carbon that we're producing. And so to get a better understanding of what that health data point is, will give the scientific communities a lot more of a, I guess, a baseline reading that they can then do more research from.
Fascinating. And, you know, for yourself, do you have to make some sort of mental preparation for this? Because it is a long slog, you know what's in store, or have you just been too busy? Is it just keeping busy that keeps you going?
I've been so flat out. I mean, I still haven't reached funding targets, so I've been trying to raise sponsorship, try and figure out how I can pay for the food provisioning on the boat next week. And like, just, it's that constant juggle between finishing up a 6-month refit on the boat where we've just unbolted every nut and screw and completely on the boat, upgraded systems, reinstalled, and all those little finishing touches. And I've just been so incredibly busy with all of that I just haven't really had time to process it. I get a lot of people asking me if I'm excited to go, and I'm like, well, yes, of course I'm excited, but I'm also in some ways so busy with the preparations. I haven't really had time to build that excitement, to feel that excitement. But I'm sure, and it was like this last time, as soon as I left port, I was just like, oh, I'm actually off, and I'm going to be on this boat on my own for 3 to 4 months straight in the world's most dangerous oceans. How cool is that? So yeah, I expect it'll be a lot like that this time.
Now, I know here at my production company, Blue Aurora Media, we've got behind you we've got a degree, I think 0 degrees for the Greenwich Meridian, or thereabouts. So people can support you through that, companies or individuals who feel passionate about you. And I guess they can go to your website and sign up to that, can they?
Yeah, so they just go to the website. There's a tab, 360 degrees. It's got all the information of what they get for their package. And then their logos or their names are up on the website for the duration of the record. And then when I sail across their degree, for example, 0 degrees, there'll be shout outs through social media, inclusion in the blog, and that sort of activation around that degree. And it's only $1,200 for a degree. So, and if they're an Australian company, it's tax deductible. So it's a really great way for businesses to support someone who's trying to do so much with the science and the environment on a project like this. And yeah, and it's a great way for people to feel like they've really contributed, and they have. They're helping me get to the start line significantly.
And you mentioned the communications there. I know getting data out from a boat in the middle of the ocean isn't the easiest or cheapest thing, but you aim to keep people up to date with what's going on.
Yeah, so I've got a great partnership with Pivotal, Canva, and Microsoft, and that combination partnership means we'll be sending back a 60-second video through the Canva platform each day. I've got data set up so that I can actually live stream off the boat into a news agency, to Blue Aurora Media, and do interviews and the likes while I'm sailing. And then I write blogs once a day for a blog. And I've got a live tracker on board the boat as well. So people will be able to go to the website, see exactly where I am in the Southern Ocean, see the weather forecast over the top. So they'll be able to see if I'm in a storm, in calm conditions, like what's going on at a glance. And then it's really exciting this time. So the record I'm trying to break was set by a Russian sailor, Fedor Konyakov, in 2008, and he did the trip in 102 days. So we've actually got his tracker details, his logbook details, and put them up as a ship. So he's a virtual boat from 2008. Then we put my boat on the tracker from 2017. And then we're going to have my current boat on there as well. So you should be able to see it more like a race against the clock, but in a visual sense, which will be really fun.
Sounds very exciting. And just to come back to the fact that the Southern Ocean is unforgiving, and you were nearly lost under the conditions there. I mean, how do you come to terms with that knife edge that you're on as you sail around Antarctica in those notorious oceans?
Yeah, I think for any project like this, it's made or broken in the preparation. So if you prepare accordingly to every emergency scenario, to every situation that may or may not take place, have the right equipment on board to deal with those emergencies, then you can kind of get through everything that you need to get through to safely get around. And physically on paper, it shows that it's possible. There's always that 1% element that you can't control, that you can't really plan for. But if you can plan for the result of that scenario, such as hitting an iceberg or a submerged shipping container and ripping a hole in the boat, I'm prepared for a mass flooding event. So I can negate the risk to me, or the risk of me losing the boat or something along those lines, by planning for those sort of outcomes rather than planning for that unknown risk that may or may not take place. But with all of my projects and especially this Antarctica project, and it was the same philosophy last time, I'm so far from help that rescue is not an option. It never will be an option for me down there. And I know when I dismasted, the closest vessel to me at the time was 600 nautical miles away. So that's about like 1,000 kilometers for the landlubbers out there. And so that it just wasn't going to be a feasible option for them to rescue me before the boat sank. And then I would be in a life raft in freezing conditions in a storm in the Southern Ocean, and my chances of survival are nil. So in all scenarios that I plan for, I also plan very closely around self-rescue and self-management and how can I save myself in all of these scenarios. And the default measure is obviously the EPIRB and calling for help, but I'm still planning to be able to self-help in all of those cases. So I think that's a really fundamental part of success. I don't go to sea and expect I can hit that red button and get pulled off by a helicopter and it'll all be okay. I go to sea with the conscious understanding that that's not an option for me, and I need to plan accordingly.
So it sounds to me like a mixture of preparation and determination in equal measure are going to get you around that.
And safety is key. Like I put practices in place along the boat to minimize my exposure in bad conditions. I'm getting my storm sails up when the winds are 20 knots of wind a day or so before the storm actually hits, so that I'm not having to be on the bow of the boat in rough conditions, putting myself in a position of risk. So it's just all these little strategies that I use throughout the whole record. I've got body armor in my base layers, and I enact all of this along the way as a way of just keeping me safe in the Southern Ocean. So she is the world's most dangerous ocean for a reason, but I have now sailed probably about 20,000 nautical miles in the Southern Ocean. So I've sort of met and overcome most of the challenges I'm yet to face. So we'll see. Well, Blue Aurora Media wishes you well, fair winds, and looks forward to welcoming you back in record time. Awesome. Thank you. I can't wait to catch up again. Thanks, Lisa. Look forward to it.